Hello and welcome back to the Project Hercules Diaries weekend update as usual, where the previous week we've been doing as much as possible to get ready for the Kickback show, which is on the 7th of September at the Sammy Miller Motorbike Museum. So it's not an awful lot to actually see, but there's a lot of work has been done. So this weld here, getting this big piece onto this 2-into-1 join section. I bought this section and I bought the silencer. They're all allegedly stainless, but the welds just didn't want to stick to this at all, and it took a long time to fill this with weld and then grind it back and fill it and grind it back, and it was a bit of a mission, but I'm quite pleased with the way it's come out. Obviously it all needs fully polishing up, as do the rest of the welds, but I'm not going to get a chance to do all that before the show. It's also fully on and fully secure because I put a mount at the top here. A couple of people had commented about what happens if it all expands, and I thought, well, actually you've probably got a point there. So I put a slot in this mount. I can change this spacer for a rubber mount so that if there is any expansion it has got room to move, and if this one is a problem at the bottom, that solid mount there, if I can either rubber mount that, change the bracket so there's a slot in the bottom, or just delete it altogether, because now I've got the silencer supported. I probably don't really need that support at the midpoint, but when all the weight was hanging on there, I didn't want all that leverage to be pulling and cracking joints at the front where the flanges are in the engine. So that took quite a bit of doing. Later on, when I come to make a chain guard, what I'm going to do is to come off the back of here probably, so that will make a chain guard support for the chain guard, in much the same way that I plan to do that on the other side of the bike here. This torque arm for the brake, I didn't make it solid up to there. That's a spacer and the split line is there, so I can shorten the spacer and then use that to sandwich a support for a chain guard on this side of the bike. Seat pad is new. It's a cheap eBay item that sticks on with those little suckers that you lick, little suction pads, and I thought, oh, that's just rubbish, that, isn't it? There's no way those suction pads are going to actually work, but it's a lot better than I thought. I stuck it on in the wrong place originally, and then I couldn't get it off, so it is quite powerful. But I think a long-term solution would be to fix the base more permanently than just a sucker pad. It's ever so easy to do. You just stick it on, but it does make the bike look a little bit more finished for the show. So I'm very pleased with the exhaust, how it's all turned out. Other things I've done today are things like the internal twist throttle grip. When there's a throttle cable in, that will take up that play there, but that's an internal throttle grip. The cable will come out of this side here and go into the carb there, so I've got to make a hole in there and then buy a cable and thread it through. But before I do that, I would like just to move the bars in slightly. They've always felt like they've been just a bit of a reach, and I think just to pull them in slightly would make it a bit more comfy, and I think it would look a bit better too. They're just a little bit on the wide side for me, given how narrow the bike is. But of course, bars are quite a personal thing. You've probably got your own views. By all means, leave us a comment, tell us what you think. Should I fit straight drag bars? Should I fit massive ape hangers? Or should I fit some pullbacks that sort of come right down here? That's originally how I drew it. I had some bars that came and followed this top line of the curve and just came down to about there, but anyway, that's what we've got at the moment. And then on this side, you've probably noticed that the original inlet manifold on the bench here, with the adapter that I made ages ago, we've now replaced that with this one here. So we've put this manifold on, still need to put all the screws in, and this adapter here that Bob's made. It's not quite as good as mine though. The threads, I think my thread's just slightly better, but it absolutely does the job. It sits the carb on there quite nicely, and I do think it looks quite neat just on the side there. It does stick out about 1 inch further, and we could shorten that in future, or if we wanted to, I've now got the option of fitting a 90-degree bent pipe and welding a flange to it, so we can do much more with this manifold than what we could with the other one, and it's a lot smaller diameter as well, so it should help improve the gas flow. So that's pretty much where we're at. It's the last but one weekend before the show, so there won't be much more done. The next job is probably going to be fitting a headlight. I have a nice headlight on there. It's a custom headlight from Hog Parts. It's just a case of how on earth do you fit it and where does it look best? Does it look best at the top or at the bottom or in the middle? Perhaps you've got a view on that as well. So that's where we're at. As usual, thank you for watching. There'll be one final update next weekend before the show, and then if I time it right, there'll be about the 400th video when we're at the show, so that'll be pretty good. Right, that's it for tonight. As usual, thank you for watching. More updates will follow.